welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I wanted to do a bit of a psychology based video as I absolutely love psychology. I'm going on to study psychology at university in a few months. It's such a big passion of mine. I want to become a therapist when I'm older. So I really love psychology. I love talking about it. I love reading about it. I love watching videos about it. I love learning new things about psychology. I just love psychology so much. So I have quite a few psychology / self-help books. And if you want to either get into psychology, you've read a little bit about it, you want to know a bit more, or you just really love it and you need some new book recommendations, this is the video for you. So in today's video, I wanted to show you guys the psychology books I absolutely love and the ones that I want to read next, as well as the one I'm reading right now. Before we do that, I wanted to tell you guys about a book or two that I have read that is psychology / self-help based, and I didn't really enjoy it. The first one is The 48 Laws of Power. I'll insert a picture so you know what it looks like. If you read this book in the wrong perspective, I don't think you're going to enjoy it. If you do want to read this book, you have to think that this book is teaching you how other people are wired and how other people work, which will then benefit you later on in life. But I wouldn't say it's the best book to start with if you want to get into psychology. It was useful, but I wouldn't go and read it again. I actually sold that book at a car boot sale because I didn't really feel the benefit of having it. I almost felt like when I was reading it, it just kind of told me how I can manipulate people. And although it's good to know how other people work and how to use that to your advantage, the way that some of the words were described in the book, it kind of feels it just felt a bit weird to me. But there is some useful knowledge in there, but you have to read the whole thing, which is quite a lengthy process. So again, I'd watch out for that. The other book that I don't really recommend is called, I think, The Psychology of Stupidity by Thomas something, I'm not sure, but I'll put a picture up here. I just didn't like this book. I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't like anything about it. It just felt very boring to me. It wasn't really interesting. I learned a few key facts here and there, but I would not read it again. I didn't really enjoy it. I thought it would be really interesting, but the book is literally about why people are stupid, which is quite interesting, but I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the way he wrote it. I didn't like much about it, to be honest. So I wouldn't recommend that book. But I think from that same writer, he released another book called Surrounded by Idiots, which I really do like that book. And if you want to read that one, 100% recommend. To summarize, it basically talks about 4 different stereotypes of different types of people. And it's kind of by color. I think it's red, blue, green, and yellow. And it's basically, but he basically says that majority of humans will fall into one of 4 stereotypes, and he basically names different characteristics that these people can have, and he kind of teaches you how these people would act, what they would do in certain situations. And a lot of people do actually fit into one of these 4, or there are at least one of them or 2 of them, even 3 of them. Again, I don't think I'm personally a strict color, at least in his theory, but I did enjoy reading the book, and I definitely got a lot of useful tips and tricks about human behavior. So I would recommend reading that one, but I don't recommend reading the other one. Now let's get started in the books that I actually have in front of me and the ones that I really do recommend. So first, I wanted to talk about Why Men Love Bitches. So I got this book when I was, I think, 14 or 15. My friend actually gave this to me for Christmas, and I still have it years later. This is such a good book for young women. After I've had my own life experiences with men and dating men, this book is really helpful into guiding you the right direction, into how you want to be treated the way you deserve, and how to not tolerate disrespect or get into any bad relationships. It kind of helps you prevent those situations. Again, this is not a book that's going to save you from anything bad ever happening in your relationships and stuff like that, but it's a really good book full of knowledge that will help you understand why men are the way they are, but also how to prevent yourself from getting hurt, from getting disrespected, getting used, etc. I absolutely love this book. I think every girl should read this book. It's so good. This is one of the first books about psychology and human behavior that I really, really enjoyed. I just absolutely love it. The way that she's written everything makes it so easy to understand. And when I started having my own experiences with men, this book made so much more sense to me. But if you haven't had a relationship yet and you don't really know what to expect, read this. It might make you think to expect the worst, but in this generation, a lot of men are literally trash and they will treat you badly if you don't respect yourself and love yourself. And this is a really good book to help you understand that factor. This book really helped me have my own independence and also taught me not to rely on a man for literally every single thing, and also how to not get too attached in a relationship. Again, after I had my first experience with dating a boy, everything in this book kind of clicked in my head for me, and I was like, yeah, she's totally right. And until you have that experience, maybe you won't feel the same way about this book. So an example that she used in this graph here says that the nice girl senses how happy he is, paying close attention to his approval of her, whereas the bitch says that she doesn't obsess over his opinion or need his approval. And that's a very simple thing that a lot of us should know, but a lot of us don't actually know. So go and get this freaking book. If there's any book that you get, if you're a girl, if you're a young girl especially, if there's any book you get from this video, please get this one. It's so good. I absolutely love this book. The next book I want to talk about is such a classic psychology self-help book. I think every psychology self-help wants to make her life better, wants to be the best version of herself. She has this book, okay? Every freaking person has this book. Atomic Habits by James Clear. James, I love you. I love you, James. This is so freaking good. When I tell you, I studied this book. I read this last year. I was highlighting every single page. When I read the first chapter, I was really shocked. I was absolutely shocked with the information he gave me. So I really can't say much about this book because of how good it is. I feel like the way that I would describe it wouldn't even match how good this book is. Please get this book, okay? Please get this book. Please give your money to James Clear. The man deserves it. He's so smart. The way he articulates everything in this book is chef's kiss. The way that he gives examples with everything that makes it just make so much more sense. It really gives you the proper advice on how to start being the best version of yourself, but not in a way where it's too pushy or you need to do this now or you're not going to be better. It's genuine, helpful advice. It's so freaking good. I'm going to give you an example. Okay, so in chapter 1, this is a very general thing he talks about. In chapter 1, he basically says to not look at your goals, but to look at the system that you create to achieve your goals. Because if you're just looking at your goals, let's say your plan is to be a millionaire by 25. How are you going to be a millionaire by 25? Okay, how are you going to do that? What is the system that you're setting in place? And again, this might sound really obvious, but the way that he explains it, it kind of just clicks in your brain and you're like, oh my God, this man is so right. I suck at explaining this. Please read this book, okay? Guys, if you read any book, just these two at this point. This is my book recommendation, video over. The next book is called This Is How You Heal. This is more of a self-help book. I read this quite a while ago when I was going through quite a hard time with just a few issues in my life. And this was a really, really nice book to sit down and read with whilst having a cup of tea. That's the kind of vibe this book is. This book doesn't attack you on you need to do better and blah, blah, blah. it genuinely gives you such helpful advice into accepting something, letting go, and moving on. And the way that she writes, it's so easy to understand. This book is packed. This little tiny book is packed with helpful information. It's so good. The way that she writes in this book, the way that she articulates her thoughts, it makes you feel like, okay, well, if she's gone through so much stuff and she's healed from it, and she's used all of this information in this book to heal from it, then I can do it too. A lot of the chapters, they're quite complicated for me to kind of explain them very quickly, but there is one chapter where she gives 10 signs that you're making progress in life. So I'll just give you those 10 things. So number 1 is that you've lost relationships. Again, she explains it all really, really well as to why this is progress that you've made, and etc, etc. Please just read it. Number 2, you're doubting your next step. Number 3, you feel slightly embarrassed of your past self. Number 4, you're slowing down. Number 5, you're starting to care more about how you feel as opposed to what other people think. And there's 5 more. But this book, it's a really good book if you want to start on your healing journey, but also if you want to understand how to cope with bad situations, especially if you want to be a psychologist like I do. This is a really helpful book on, again, it's not like scientifically backed. This book is not obviously backed by science and stuff, but it's a good way to understand how the human brain copes with trauma and sad situations and how we can get past them. Okay, the next book I got this about a year ago, and it's called It's Not Your Fault by Alex Howard. I haven't actually seen anyone recommend this book on any recommendation videos that I've watched on TikTok or YouTube. This book is basically all about trauma. I wouldn't say it's my favorite book in the entire world, but with this book, I personally felt very seen. I felt very heard, and I really enjoyed it. I saw some reviews on Goodreads that a lot of people didn't like this book because it felt like it was kind of promoting his business a little bit. I did get that vibe in this book a little bit, but he has a lot of great information in this book. He kind of takes you along on his journey of his trauma and how he tried different things and what actually ended up working for him. And then he gives you advice on how you can implement that into your own life. I really like this book. I think he was very vulnerable. It was very nice for me to read someone that's gone through a traumatic experience, as I have also gone through many traumatic experiences. I felt very seen, I felt very heard, and his advice was actually very helpful. Again, if that's your vibe, I recommend this book 100%. Lastly, this psychology book is a must. If you want to be a psychologist, if you love psychology, you need this book. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. A lot of people know about this book, especially if you're into psychology, into trauma, into how the human brain works. This is an amazing book. It has very, very small writing. I have a lot of stuff highlighted, but it has very, very small writing, so it will take you a while to go through. This book is my holy grail. I will use this book in my uni assignment. I will be basic. I will use this book because I love this book so much. I actually included this book on my university UCAS personal statement, which is basically like this long essay you have to write about why the university should choose you. And I basically wrote some facts that I learned in this book. This book is a very sciencey book. It's full of studies, of research, of all of that stuff. So it's a proper science-backed book on trauma and how trauma works and different experiments that they tried to see what works best for the brain, basically. Such a good book. I love this book. I love this book. So those are my 5 psychology/self-help book recommendations. I would recommend all of those books if you want to get into psychology, or you have nothing else to read and you want to read some psychology books, then that's for you, girl. Anyways, now I'm going to tell you guys the books that I am going to be reading next. So if you want to read at the same time as me, then you should get these books. I've wanted to read this book. It's called The 4-Hour Work Week. I wanted to read this book for such a long time. I bought this because I actually saw it in one of Alicia Marie's videos, which I love her. She's so freaking cool. I used to watch her when I was in secondary school and a little bit of primary school. And I watched one of her vlogs, I think in like 2020. She said that this book was really good, and I immediately got it after that. I have not read this yet. I really want to read it. Honestly, the thickness of it is putting me off. It has not super small words, but kind of small. This will probably take me quite a while to get through, but I really want to read this because it's a really good business book. It's not a psychology book, but I mean, it could be, I guess, depending on the way you look at it. But it basically tells you how you can escape the 9-to-5. I think it's pretty popular, just like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think that's what it's called. So yeah, I'm gonna read that next. Okay, next we have Attached. This book, I'm so excited to read this. So this psychology book is apparently really good. It tells you the different types of attachment styles and how you can heal your attachment style and have a healthy one. It's really, really good. It will really benefit your friendships, your relationships, etc. I cannot wait to read this. I've had a lot of different attachment styles growing up, so I think this will be very good for me. And I really recommend this one. Even though I haven't read it yet, I know it's going to be really good. The next one I want to read is called Conversations in Love. This book is about love and how to kind of navigate relationships and things like that. I don't know much about this book, but I have seen that it is quite popular, or it was quite popular a few months ago, so I ended up getting this one. So I'm going to read that soon. I have an investing book that I saw from my favourite YouTuber called Tam Kaur. She is such a baddie. Love her. She recommended this book called Girls That Invest. This book is basically a whole book about investing, about, you know, how to start investing. It talks about anything you can think of. It's basically your guide to investing, to getting more money, to getting that bag. Cannot wait to read this. And finally, I have Tam Kaur's book, Her Frickin' Self. She is my favorite YouTuber. I will promote that queen any single day. She made a book called Buy Yourself the Damn Flowers. I have not read this yet, but I have seen every single one of her YouTube videos and every single one of her vlogs. Okay, I've been a subscriber since she had like 100k. This is the book. It probably has the most useful freaking information you've ever had in your entire life. And I haven't even read it yet because that's how confident I am in her. And I am very excited to read this. I might read this very soon, actually. This book is basically going to tell you how to be the best version of yourself. And honestly, you don't need any other book except this one. That's how much I love her. She's great. And finally, I want to talk about the book that I'm reading now, which is called All About Love by Bell Hooks. I'm only about 2 chapters in, but this book basically tells you about love, how to navigate love. It's quite similar to this book. These books seem quite similar, but I'm really enjoying this one so far. It's quite a in-depth type of book, at least from what I've seen in the first 2 chapters. It really analyzes the question, what is love? Why do we love? Things like that. I do recommend this one so far. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you're going to go ahead and buy any of these books, if you think any of these books are interesting to you. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. Yeah, I will definitely make another one of these videos when I have read more books, especially the ones that I mentioned in this video that I'm going to be reading later on. I always plan to read so many books in a year and I just never get around to it. So hopefully this year I do get around to it. As you can tell, psychology is my favourite genre, so yeah. I absolutely love psychology, and I really hope that if you start any of these books, it will also spark a passion of psychology in you as well. But just in general, they're really, really fun books to read, and especially if you want to learn more about human behaviour, they're really fun books. So if you want to be a little bit smarter, you should read these books. Let me know if you're going to go ahead and purchase any of these books. Again, I recommend all of them. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this, or if you prefer the vlogs. Let me know what you're into. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much. Remember, you guys are all my freaking besties. And yeah, if you want to be besties, then message me on Instagram. Love you.